Well, it's good to be back for another edition of the DC Capstone Report. I hope everyone's enjoying our podcast out there. Today on the podcast, we're going to take a look and review the game that Alabama just had against Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns. In the second segment, we're going to look at our offensive and defensive players of the game against Louisiana. And then our third and final segment, we're going to preview the upcoming game against the Arkansas Razorbacks. The DC Capstone Report is featured each Tuesday morning on Tide 102.9, The Morning Blitz with Martin Houston. You can listen live at Tide1029.com. Well, in our first segment today, let's take a review of the last game Alabama played against Louisiana Lafayette. Well, it was a great game on all accounts. Alabama came out and played to their standard. You know, that's what Coach Saban has been preaching this whole time, is Alabama coming out and playing to a standard, not playing to an opponent. And I believe in this game against Louisiana Lafayette, we saw just that. Alabama came out and didn't take note that they were who Louisiana was. They came out and played against them and played against the standard that they're used to playing against, and did a superb job in this game. I think overall it looked like that Billy Napier is trying to put in a good program there at Louisiana. He's copied well what he's learned at Alabama, and I think in the future he'll do a good job there and maybe even have some winning teams and bring Louisiana Lafayette up, but right now he just doesn't have the talent, doesn't have the skill positions or the athleticism to really hang with Alabama, and it showed in this game from the very beginning. Alabama at halftime was up 49 to nothing on the team, and I think we kind of coasted in the second half. Played a lot of players, didn't do as well as we wanted to in the second half, but really the amazing outpouring of all hitting on all cylinders in the first half with our offense was really good production. Looks like we came out wanting to run the ball and establish the run with our offensive line. Called a lot of running plays and gained some yardage, and I think we did a good job in the running game, coming out and running with our first three backs that hit the field. Damian Harris, Josh Jacobs, and Najee Harris all did a great job in that first half. Tua Tagovailoa got the start coming in this game. We knew it was Jalen Hurts' fifth game. Everybody wanted to know if he was going to play in the fifth game or use that red shirt rule like Kelly Bryant had done at Clemson and transfer. But Tua got the start, came out and did a great job. He was 8 for 8 for passing, and just did an amazing job in connecting on his touchdowns and passes that he threw. Put the ball where it needed to be, played a great game while he was in there. Jalen came in to a roar of the crowd, standing ovation, and I thought that was well deserved. He came in, gonna play this year out, just like he said he was going to do. It doesn't look like he's planning on transferring this year. He's going to be used, I think, in games to come when needed situationally to come in and play. And I think Coach Saban played him this game early in the first quarter. He threw some great balls. And one of the plays that I really love was him standing in the pocket, waiting for the play to develop, and hitting Henry Ruggs on that deep touchdown pass across the middle, and just did a great, outstanding job, I think, staying in the pocket. And to me, that shows improvement in Jalen Hurts, leaps and bounds over last year. He's enjoyed the coaching of Dan Enos and stayed in the pocket. If you can stay in the pocket long enough for these Alabama receivers, and I'm talking across the board with the 5 receivers that we have, starting receivers. Though I don't know there any other better receiving core in the SEC, or let alone I think he's in the nation right now. But you got Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs III, and Jalen Waddle, who have just done a great job in getting open. If you give them time, if you stay in the pocket, the offensive line gives our quarterback time, and they stay in the pocket and don't give up. It looks like these 5 receivers are capable of beating their men with their speed, with their footwork and hand placement on almost every play. So I was very pleased with our offensive performance in running the ball, also pleased with our quarterback play and our wide receiver play. In this game, not only did Jalen get in the game, Jalen Hurts, but you also see Mac Jones come in. And I was pleased to see Mac Jones take some playing time with the ones. And he was able to throw a long 95-yard touchdown pass where Henry Ruggs running in and did a great job as well. So it's just good to see him play and do a good job in the game. The second half of the game, it seemed like we ran the ball more, didn't really try to score as many points. But we did in games on maybe a missed field goal, in drives on a missed field goal, and that's concerning. But I think Bulovas is still the guy at that position, and he'll just have to get some more confidence in his kicks. The one thing we didn't do was punt in this game. Skylar DeLong didn't have an opportunity to punt in this game because the offense was so good. They never had an opportunity to see if he improved. So that's the one thing we were looking for improvement in, and that did not happen in this game because he didn't get to punt. But it was a game for our offense to do so well. We also were looking at improvement in penalties. So we did have some penalties here. I think Ross Piercebaker got an illegal motion penalty that was bad, but we came back on the next play and had a touchdown pass. So, that was erased from our memories. But I think we did a little improvement in the penalty game. We were playing tough on defense and didn't get near as many penalties as we had in the past as well. So I think we had improvement in the run game. We had improvement in the passing game. Not so much on the punting because we didn't get to punt, so it's a good thing. Didn't have to punt, but it would be good to see Skylar DeLong to get back into the swing of things with his leg in the upcoming games and be able to kick for extended yardage and hang time. But overall, I think it was a great performance. Give Billy Napier credit. He's building a good team there at Louisiana Lafayette. I think down the road they'll have a good team. But they just couldn't match up against the Alabama Crimson Tide. We had set a score of 63 points, but Alabama scored in the 50s again. So I really think gave up 14 points late in the game. Alabama also scored on special teams on a return as well, a punt return for a touchdown. First punt return in quite a while. But Jalen Waddle did a good job as well on offense and on special teams. He had a special game. We'll talk about that later in our second segment. On defensive side of the ball, I think Alabama came out and did what they wanted to do. They established their dominance on the line of scrimmage. I believe Quinion Williams, Isaiah Buggs, and Raekwon Davis were in the backfield all day long. They disrupted the plays there, and that gave opportunities for our defensive backs and our safeties to have big games. And our linebackers, Dylan Moses and Mac Wilson, had big games as well. But looked like overall defense, we did what we wanted to do. Played a lot of players. Didn't get to play as many in the last game before this, so we didn't substitute as much against Texas A&M. But in this game, we did substitute, and a lot of players got to play. So I think it'll bode well for down the road when we need these players to step up. But I think overall, even though we gave up some late touchdowns in the game, it would give some experience for our second team to come in and get some well playing time. So I think overall it was a great performance by the University of Alabama. They're still undefeated as they move on to their next game. So I believe overall everyone out there should be pleased with our offense, where we are. Both Tua and Jalen doing great jobs. Our running backs, our receivers are second to none. And the offensive production is up. Our defense is catching up, doing a good job of play. I think we had a real good linebacker play, and defensive back play in this game. And our offensive line played well. It seemed like they gelled together. They had a couple of nicks and bruises. I think Jonah Williams had a twisted ankle, and maybe Jedrick Wills, but Mac Womack came in and played well. Chris Owens came in and played well. So we had some backup players that come into those positions and played well on the offensive line. Overall, great game for the University of Alabama and another victory for the Crimson Tide.
You have been listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is brought to you each time this week by RollTideBama.com and FreelancePitchers.com.
Well, in the second segment today, Lance, I want to talk about our standout players of the game, and we could pick from many on the offensive side of the ball, but on the offensive side of the ball, I just want to concentrate on three players which I thought had a great game and did really well in this game, offensive production-wise. Of course, Tua Tagovailoa did an excellent job going 8 for 8, hitting all of his passes and touchdown passes thrown. Jalen Hurts did a great job as well. I think a couple of the players that showed some outstanding players on this team were on our wide receivers, and Henry Ruggs III had an excellent game. I think everybody talks about Devontae Smith and Jerry Jeudy, and they are great. I think sometimes we forget about how good Henry Ruggs III is and how fast that he is, and he just showed his speed. He outran some players in this game, showed his quickness and his speed. So I think Henry Ruggs III is a great receiver and did a great job of catching passes, did a great job of extending those pass plays and for touchdowns. So I think he is one of my outstanding players on offense of the game, Henry Ruggs III. A second player on offense that I think did well and did a great game as well is one that we talked about on this podcast early on, back when Alabama was in their fall camp, and we were a guest on the Martin Houston show. We were on that show on Tuesday mornings, every Tuesday morning on the Martin Houston show on Tide 102.9. You can catch us there live as we talk about on 1029.com. Martin was asking me a question on who I saw as stand out in the early going, and I mentioned a young kid's freshman's name named Jalen Waddle. And early on, I picked him out because in practice he was doing some things as a freshman that just jumps off the page at you. And so he is my second player of the offensive game. Jalen Waddle, in my opinion, had one of the best games of an Alabama player in quite some time in receiving and special teams. He had 201 all-purpose yards. That's in his return yards and his catching the ball as a wide receiver. 201 all-purpose yards. He only touched the ball 4 times. 4 times he touches the ball. 4 touches, he has 201 all-purpose yards, and 3 of those touches ended in touchdowns. So out of the 4 times he touches the ball, he has 3 touchdowns. Now he has to be the outstanding player on offense in this game. So Jalen Waddle, a true freshman out of Houston, Texas. I said early on Martin Houston's show that he was nipping at the heels of the other wide receivers, and they had stepped their game up. And I believe that he's been a great catalyst in that wide receiver field to push the other wide receivers. So I think Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, and Henry Ruggs III are better today because of the competition they've had with Jalen Waddle. And I think Jalen Waddle adds a great explosive player. Coach Saban talked last year that he wanted to see more explosive plays. Well, in my mind, every time Jalen Waddle touches the ball, he has the potential. Now, he has the potential, mind you, to take it for a touchdown every time he touches the ball. So I look for him to be a bigger part of the offense going forward. But definitely he's one of my offensive players of this game. Also, I like to highlight my third offensive player of the game is a player that plays on the line. And I just want to just know this year Alex Leatherwood moved positions, went from a tackle to the guard spot. And if you watch this game, Alex Leatherwood had a great game at guard. He's one of the reasons that our offensive production was better in the running game. He beat his man almost every play, and I think he was one of my outstanding players on this game on offense because he was able to give the quarterback time to throw the ball. He was able to open holes and did a really good job of keeping the pressure off the pocket. So overall, I think he's done an outstanding job moving from tackle to guard. And anytime you move along the line of scrimmage and you can play different positions, you make yourselves much more attractive for the NFL. So I think he's doing himself a great service for later in life to be able to play anywhere on an offensive line. So he was one of my offensive players of the game as well. Transfer over the defense, I think 3 players really stood out to me on defense and special teams in this game and making tackles and hard hitting. First of all, I think the standout player on defense has to be Xavier McKinney. Xavier McKinney has done a great job filling in the defensive backfield, coming in, playing safety, playing the star, the position, the dime position. He's been able to rush the quarterback. He had an interception in this game. He had sacks in this game. So overall, great performance by Xavier McKinney in this game. So he's one of my outstanding defensive players of the game. Dylan Moses, my second outstanding defensive player of the game. He come off that injury in the previous game where he ran into the fence there at Bryant-Denny. He comes in this game and plays, does an exceptional job. He's in the backfield disrupting plays. He's several times he had the back on the running downs on that when they were doing the RPOs with the handoff to the running back. He stuck with him, didn't let it fool him on the fakes, and he was able to tackle and make some good stops on the running play. So very very good game there by Dylan Moses. So I look for him to continue to get better. We have in him and Mac Wilson have two of the best linebackers I think in the entire country. So I think he'll only get better. And one player that we really haven't mentioned much this year, he's a freshman as well. And I'd like to have him as my third defensive standout of the game. Pretty played on special teams. He got in some on defense as well, but his name is Jalen Moody, wears number 42. Many of you know on defense last year, Keith Holcomb, the local product out of Hillcrest, was a deep linebacker. He forego his last year of eligibility to play baseball, concentrate on baseball. So Jalen Moody, a freshman, come in, takes that number 42, and he was flying all over the field on special teams. So just did an excellent job of making tackles and hard hits. But what I was impressed about as a freshman, he was hitting, but he was doing it with his head up. Didn't have any lazy plays where he dropped his head. Could be a targeting call. He had some hard hits that hit with pads, hit with his shoulders, and I was really pleased with his defensive output. I think down the road he'll be a difference maker at linebacker for Alabama. And might even see him moving into that second string spot to get some playing time down the road. Should we need him at linebacker? But he's a hard hitter. Looks like another great freshman to up and come and learn behind Mac Wilson and Dylan Moses. One day play that middle linebacker position. So Jalen Moody is my third defensive players of the game. So there, just to recap, our defensive players of the game were Xavier McKinney, Dylan Moses, and Jalen Moody. And on offense, it's Henry Ruggs III, Jalen Waddle, and Alex Leatherwood. Well, in this final segment, we're going to preview the upcoming game against Arkansas, the Razorbacks. They're from Fayetteville. Alabama goes on the road to play them there in Fayetteville this week. Kickoff is another early game at 11 o'clock. So don't forget to set your clocks and get up early to get ready for the pregame festivities. Alabama there against the Hogs there in Arkansas. This past week, Arkansas played against another one of our opponents that we've already played, Texas A&M. And they played Texas A&M to a close game, 24-17 there, that was a game that's called the Southwest Classic. So they played it there in Jerry World, in Dallas, Texas. So it was an opportunity to showcase Arkansas. They played a hard-fought game, but just didn't live up to the ability to beat Texas A&M. Now they did play well early in the season. They lost their first game to Colorado State. They lost a game to North Texas. They lost a blowout loss to Auburn at Auburn, 34-3, and then they've lost this game against Texas A&M. So they're not having a great game, not having a great season so far this year. But you got to remember, they're coming in under a new coach, Chad Morris, trying to instill a new offensive game plan, scheming, and he's trying to do that with players that were left over from the Brett Bielema tenure, and trying to make those players play his offense, and that hasn't really gone so well. So I look for Alabama to match up really well in this game. It's a road test in the SEC. They're always hard-fought games, and in reality, Arkansas always plays Alabama a really tough game. I remember games years ago where we would travel out there and we're supposed to really have 4 or 5 touchdown advantage over them. Then it'd be a 3-point game or a 7-point game. I don't think this is one of those years. I really believe Alabama's offensive production is so different this time than it has been in the past, that we have ability to score against Arkansas. I don't think Arkansas on defense can match up with Alabama's individual talent level or athleticism. And I think Alabama will score a lot in this game. And again, we'll see. I don't think we'll be able to see this taken into the fourth quarter. If Arkansas can hang like they did against Texas A&M and take it in the fourth quarter, it might be a good game, but I really look for Alabama to put up a lot of points, score a lot of points offensively, and beat Arkansas pretty handily. See, on offense, Arkansas, when they have the ball, they're trying to run a scheme that most of their players were not recruited for in that scheme. And their quarterback is not what I would call an elite level. They have 2 quarterbacks Ty Story, which is number 4, and Cole Kelly, which is their running quarterback, back number 15. And they alternate them in a different situational, where Cole Kelly will come in and run the quarterback option, or he's a very big, tall guy, big guy. And then Ty Story is more their quarterback that runs their usual offense. I just don't think that they have the talent to work in that scheme that Chad Morris likes to run. So I love our defense in this game. I think we're built to stop the run, play good up on the line of scrimmage. I really believe that when they do throw the ball, that our defensive backs can handle it and be able to play in this game. So overall, in this preview of this game, I look for Alabama to come out and try to clean up some of the things that they're still lacking. They want to clean up those penalties, try to have a game with no penalties. Want to make sure they don't have the ball turned over at any time. They want to cause some turnovers. They haven't been able to cause as many fumbles. And they want to try to improve on their kicking game and their punting. So look for, hopefully see some improvement in the punting game this week. Didn't have an opportunity last week, but look for some improvement in the punting game this week. Look for Joseph Bulovas to get back on track, maybe make some field goals. And I look for our offense to continue to run on all cylinders. And if we come out and play our best game against Arkansas, and look for another blowout in this game. So I'm picking Alabama 52, Arkansas 7.
You have been listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is brought to you each time this week by RollTideBama.com and FreelancePitchers.com. Be sure to go online and check us out on DCCapstoneReport.com for future updates.